Hi, everyone. Is everyone able to hear me? Uh, if yes, okay, great. So, yeah, I think let's wait for a few more minutes for everyone to join, and then we can begin. It's actually yeah, pretty good to see so many people interested in AI and AI agents, and yeah, I think we'll go over. We'll have a talk of the untapped dimensions of AI agent, and also look at some of the other aspects. So yeah, let's begin in another minute or so. So what are you currently working on? Yeah, maybe your LinkedIn, or what are you looking for from this particular meetup? So let's wait for another 3 minutes, and then we can begin with the first talk. Okay. So yeah, I think uh, Srini is looking for developing AI agents which can run on low power devices and address issues related to emotional intelligence. And Senthil, you're working on Microsoft Copilot. Yeah, yeah, I think so. Let's begin with the first presentation that we have. And before that, let me welcome you to the Bangalore AI Agents Meetup group. And one of the reasons for creating this meetup is to engage in this kind of conversation around where the AI agent ecosystem is going, what are the different opportunities, what are the different things that are coming out, and then how we can best tap into the various opportunities and the various frameworks and tools that are available for us to build on top. And we'll also look at some of the approaches in which we can look at building for AI agents. So let me also go ahead and share my screen. Yes. So this is uh, the idea of the talk began when I was looking at implementing AI agents for myself and the kind of use cases that I had. It led me into exploring AI agents in different ways. And I quickly realized that there are many different ways to use AI agents and many different ways to build with AI agents. And not all of that is really what's getting a lot of pretty much all the media attention or all the discussions that are happening. It's not really addressing those aspects. So this is some kind of insights and some of the observations, and I think many of you might also have some more ideas and thoughts and explorations that you might have done in these topics. And that is also one of the key ideas that this could be a starting point for further discussion, which we can have future talks and future conversations around these topics. So just to set a starting ground. So, yeah, welcome everyone. My name is Aditya, and uh, I'm not a AI scholar or a researcher by any means, but it's just because I was interested in a couple of different areas, and then to implement certain things, I got involved in generative AI, and also by profession, or what I have been doing for the past 10, 12 years is working on cybersecurity products and solutions into the Internet of Things space. And one of the core researches that I was doing of building an autonomous agent or building an autonomous system which can identify security vulnerabilities in different areas. So that kind of led me down into the whole rabbit hole of looking at different LLMs, trying out different local LLMs, remote ones, figuring out what's the difference between them, exploring extremely in depth into various prompt engineering techniques, evaluating prompts, and then into building different agents and different agentic swarms, combination of multiple agents to achieve a particular goal. So it's been, I'd say, like past 2 years of a lot of in-depth hands-on research and exploration into these areas, mostly with the aim of tinkering and hacking around things, seeing what's possible, and also if it can be use for different scenarios that were not just which were not possible earlier before the LLMs and AI agents really took off. So on the cybersecurity side, I have written a couple of books, given a bunch of trainings. This is kind of a new area that I'm also exploring, and I think having this kind of a shared group allows us to share more of the insights and have a collaborative information exchange. So the very first thing that I'd like to talk about is what are some of the things that are happening now, so that we can get an idea of where it's going, and also some of the insights which are not really on the surface. So one of the big things that pretty much everyone would have noticed is we are kind of a lot of applications are sort of shifting from just having a single prompt that you send to an LLM and get a response back. So instead of that, figuring out that it's not really the most efficient way in which we can use LLMs. So from there, we looked at, like in terms of the research that's available and how it evolved. So from basic one-off prompting, you have like different prompt chaining, different prompting techniques like chain of thoughts and all of this. And then it's also now being embedded into having these individual autonomous blocks, which we call as agents. So having prompts inbuilt into them, and then looking at how we can really give LLMs ability to interact with the world, observe what's happening, and then take some sort of decisions which can drive the entire chain forward, and creating those kind of frameworks which can enable that led to a lot of rise in different AI agents that are available today, and also different AI agents that are being built. And it's one of the other, so I think that is the first point of how we are shifting from prompts, just one of prompts, to agents. But even though agents involve prompting, I think that's a very important aspect that you should always be aware of how well you can optimize your prompts within the agent so that the whole system works in the most efficient way. The second thing that I would say is happening right now is a lot of models that are out there are getting really and really powerful, be it the online, the models which are really powerful hosted on cloud, or even the local models that you can run, they're getting really capable. And if you have seen the recent NVIDIA keynote, uh, in which they relaunched the project Digits. So with innovation like that, I think a lot more power is going to come to be run on local instances for people who are willing. So, and that is completely going to transform how well integrated AI agents are with the rest of the ecosystem, because now in many scenarios you have kind of not really making the trade-off on privacy. You can have everything local and you don't worry about the token costs, even though there's some sort of electricity consumption that is there. But I think the cost of running these models and getting useful results from this is really coming down. And even the online models for pretty much Claude or even uh, GPT and DeepSeek, all of these are very economical to run for different purposes if you know which LLMs to use for what kind of purposes. The other thing that's happening right now is generative AI trend, where a lot of things are now possible, which were not possible earlier, which is, uh, let's say, even writing full-fledged programs and scripting and those kind of things. So especially in programming as well as in arts and these kind of domains, generative AI is really taking off. So anyone can now build uh, anything that they want if they have enough patience to work around with LLMs in a certain way without having to know the skills that were earlier a barrier to create that. So apart from generative AI, I think the other thing is SaaS blocks. So you might have heard in various discussions of how the entire SaaS is being replaced with logical blocks of LLMs. And this is very much the obvious consequence that's going to happen, because you don't need to have a lot of complex logic in terms of code that's written, which can be slowly replaced by the different kind of AI agents that we have. So in a very near future, say in like the next couple of years, you'd have a lot of applications that are built, and even now that's happening, which are just like a wrapper around different AI agents. So it's just being able to encapsulate a lot of functionalities and a different kind of logic, and using them as a component to build software. I think that's one of the fundamental shifts that is happening. And one of the other things that is emerging is personalization, be it in personalization of the responses that you get, but also personalization in terms of the interfaces that you use. So fields like user experience and user interface design, all of those things can be very personalized in the near future, depending on how the user wants to experience it. So I think that's a whole new industry that is going to emerge of creating these kind of interfaces, which are really capable of working with LLMs at different layers. So, with these particular trends, I think if you're not familiar with agents, I'll just go a quick overview of what agents are. So, if you look at uh, agents and what they can actually do, it's you can think of it as autonomous blocks of programs that can interact with the environment that they have using different tools. So these are LLM powered blocks where you have a certain prompt that you can use to define the logic. And one of the, I would say, like the biggest enablers of agents is the functionality of tool. So in order to interact with the environment that they have, we can define and create these tools which can allow them to interact with both internal and external world. And once they interact, they can also look at how the world is modifying, and based on that modification, they can observe. And based on the logic that's there, they can convert their observation to a particular kind of action and then perform that action. And all of this is also obviously integrated with the memory that we can provide to the agents, which can be used at different levels by the agent. Another thing that I would like to highlight, which I have not seen like present in a lot of agent descriptions online, is if you want to build really effective agents, it's very important for the agents to actually improve. So in a optimized or in an efficient agentic workflow, I think it's just natural to have some sort of feedback loop or iterative auto improvement loops, which can be used to figure out how you can actually improve your agent over time, so that each new run is not like a completely independent instance, but is rather like has already learned from previous runs. So some kind of a workaround that you can have for your specific use case is very useful for agents to actually improve. So I actually like to think about AI as amplified intelligence. When you're building agents, it's building agents is very straightforward, but what actually goes in the agent is up to you. So the level of thought and creativity that you can give to your particular designing the prompt, designing how the memory is going to be accessed, how all of that is going to be structured. I think that is one of the most important parts about building agents that actually work. Because if you look at if you want to use agents in, let's say, long path of actions and decisions, then if a small mistake can actually lead to a large blunder or a very large offshoot from the expected result in the future. So you can have compounding errors if you have not really thought through on how you're going to do error correction or reflection, and how you're going to set the termination parameters of the agentic workflow that you're building. So that's one thing that you should always take care of. And if you have never built AI agents, I think it's very easy to get started. If you want to use a framework, you can use a framework like AutoGen or QAI, or PyData is a new one. So if you look at, let's say, how do you actually build and run an agent? So if you look at a very simple agent, so this is PyData framework. So this is a web agent. We have defined that it's running locally with Llama 3.2. And the only tool that we have provided it is DuckDuckGo, which allows internet access. And then it simply goes ahead and asks a particular question, which it searches for on the internet. So if we go ahead and run this, so it makes a web query, and then it gets the result. And here it has gotten the result. And this is just a single agent that you have run. So it's simply fetching the result from the web, nothing too complex. But what you can also do is instead of a single agent, you can also have multiple agents. So if you look at this particular program, it has multiple different agents, and this entire workflow generates a particular blog post by first searching on the internet for top 5 articles, and then it gets the result and then sends it to a writer agent, which actually goes ahead and writes it. So if you run this, so you just provided a unique blog post, let's say a blog post title, uh, let's say a random topic. So why AI agents collaboration is important, and it goes in and finds a couple of different blog posts, and it uses the content of that to actually go ahead and write the blog post. So this is just a example of using this tool of the DuckDuckGo and the web agent. You can actually retrieve data and then send it to another agent. And that's sort of like the basic building blocks of a workflow where you have multiple agents using different kind of tools, having different kind of instructions that you give them, and then you combine them in a workflow. So yeah, this is a very basic overview using Phi data. And the recent frameworks like Phi data actually also allow you to uh, have a very interesting or easy to use web interface. So if you can also look at the things and interact with your agents in different ways. So you can look at which agent you want to interact with, and you can look at how to improve the agent or interact with that single agent and even build workflows and things like that. So there are different frameworks that you can use in order to build AI agents like PhiData, Creo AI, and many others. And once it's so easily and readily available, I think the most important thing that you should be asking is how do you actually build effective agents? And by effective agents, we simply mean that agents that can actually deliver the results that you're looking for. So producing desired results is the only thing that you should be focused on into how you can create this entire agentic workflows. What are going to be the different agents? What are the paths that it can take? What tools do you need to provide the agents access to? What is the world going to look like, the different ways in which data is going to come, and obviously the instruction, which is the prompt that you're going to use, whether you want to use a chain of thought prompting or you want to use React prompt or you want to use some other few short examples. So any kind of instruction that you want to give. And also it's very obvious that you should experiment with different prompts for each agentic block in order to figure out which one works the best. And the same goes for model also. So maybe Claude is better in creative output, GPT-4 or Mini is better in something else. You can call really powerful 400 billion parameter models for some very precise tasks that you want more accuracy in. So this kind of mix of agents or mix of models for different agents is also a common technique that is used in order to build effective agentic workflows. And recently, Claude also came up with this article or blog post, which is goes into a lot of details on how you can design these agentic workflows. So the next thing that we is the natural consequence of having these agents is it's not anytime you want to use agents, it's never going to be a single agent that can deliver results. But it's often a combination of multiple agents that work together with each other, which is often referred to as agent swarms. So what we really want to optimize for in order to get efficient and effective results is a multi-agent collaboration scenario where we design each agent to be very specialized for the task that it is intended to perform. And for each of the agent, we also want to figure out what kind of environment, what kind of world, what kind of tools, all of that, what it requires, and build an agent swarm, which can be then plugged in into any other kind of program or workflow that you require. So that is what I see happening in terms of the next evolution of agentic workflows is agents are going to be readily available for anyone to use. And you have a lot of different marketplaces that are going to come up, which can offer you to use agents based on your requirement. And this is just one example of such a marketplace like agent.ai, uh, which has been created by Dharmesh Shah, the founder of HubSpot. And I think a lot more agentic marketplaces are going to come up. And along with that, we are going to see a lot of micro marketplaces, micro niche marketplaces, as well as curated marketplaces of AI agent. So this whole industry of agentic marketplaces for a specific domain, I think it's going to be a very big uh, way for people to access these agents. So this is something that if you're looking to interested in building agentic frameworks or building agentic workflows or doing some kind of exploration around agents, then marketplaces are a natural occurrence that is going to happen in the next months and years. And also, we are going to see a lot of emergent collective agent ecologies. So this simply means that, uh, let's say I build four agents which work together in a particular way, and then you also build three agents which work in a certain way. So now, with a particular kind of, let's say, interoperable mechanism, my agent team can also interact with your agent team in order to deliver a particular kind of output. So this emergent collective agent ecology is going to fuel the next level of, I would say, the unleashing of the next kind of softwares that are going to be built, because now you have got agent teams that are collaborating with each other to produce very interesting results. So that's something that I think we can discuss in detail in the future uh, talks. And if you want to look at the different layers where the different opportunities are, so you can think of it as the application layer, the infrastructure, and the interoperability, sorry, layer. So application is simply something that you build using these agentic frameworks. Infrastructure is the kind of tech and the kind of infrastructure that's required to power and build these kind of agents. And then interoperability is about how do you make these agents and agentic teams interact with each other. So if something is built on, let's say, PAI, how do you make it work with some other agents which are built with some other thing? So some kind of interoperable framework, standards, protocols is also yet to come in a way where we can allow agent tech teams to interact with each other. And to very quickly go over some of the ideas, and this is something that has been going on in my mind for the past couple of times. So just summarizing some of the opportunities that are there. So the obvious opportunity lies in personal agents. So agents for personal use, which you can use for yourself if you want to use it to explore your thought in a particular way. If you want to build a single person company with multiple agents handling different things like social media, all of that. So if you want to build agents for yourself, there are a lot of opportunities. If you want to build agents for others, you can think of whether it's going to be used by single users or organization, whether you want to deliver it through cloud, whether you want to have it local on a Android device or an other low power device, or you want to have it in a form of integration with other software tools and things like that. Some of the other opportunities that are there is around managing agentic swarms, which is how do you orchestrate all these agents to work together in a collaborative way. So that's one of the areas that somebody can build on. Then you have the plugin and extension ecosystem, which is, let's say, a plugin in VS Code or a plugin in another application that many people use, and having agentic processes that run those. Similarly, the permission layer and the security layer for agentic operation, which is which agent can access what kind of data, how do we control it, and all those kind of things. So that is also one of the things that is yet to be built. Then you have agent-specific infrastructure like cloud providers that are native for agents. So instead of running a VPS, you can actually have a cloud which is very much intended to run just agents. And I think a couple of uh, companies and products have come up in this. So this is Restack, where you can directly run agents on the cloud and monitor how they work, and then instead of having to deal with the whole complexity of VPSs and those kind of things on where to run the agents. Similarly, we are yet to see a lot of specialized databases for agents, a lot of tools that can observe what the agents are doing. Some of the tools are still there. I think Langsmith and these kind of things can allow you to do that. There's also a lot of innovation potential in human agent interface, agent computer interface, and obviously the agent interoperability layer. And obviously, you can build single AI capabilities app. I think this is what I see the most. So when you build, let's say, single capability platforms, which is also again not that it's not useful, but it's also very prominent and it's also finding a lot of success. So let's say GenAI, which allows uh, you to interact with research paper and those kind of things, running on top of multiple AI agents, and similarly different other tools that are abundant in the market. So now that you know like what kind of opportunities are there at a high level, I think it's also very important to look at what kind of agents to build, and for you given scenario, like what do you actually want to build? And the first question to ask is whether this requires an agent or not. And if it requires, then the simple process is you look at a problem, you deconstruct it, you look at the input, output, and processes which are required to build an agentic system, and then you see how all of those blocks will interact with each other. And that's the very basics of how you structure the agentic uh, workflows. And there are other agentic apps and ideas that I think will be too vast to cover in this particular webinar. But it's most of these are thought explorations. I think we can look at these in detail in a later session. But also, this could, for example, some of these are experimentations that you can look at. So if you allow certain agents or agentic teams to run for a longer period of time with certain intentions, so what can actually happen with that kind of uh, emergence intelligence that you can create? So if you look at, uh, I think this was also an experiment done by, I say, like a group of researchers where they had multiple agents in a society kind of situation, and they simulated and interacted with each other, and they led to very interesting conclusions of what happens in that whole world. So a shared world for multiple agents, and then each agent is programmed with something, and then what kind of results occur. So those kind of simulations can also be run, apart from a lot of other possibilities in different scenarios. Like private agents is one thing that I think is very interesting challenge that needs to be solved. So the core, if you look at the core intelligence behind an agent, it's the prompt and the tools that are used. So if you have to share an agent with someone, so how can you ensure that multiple agents collaborate and each of the agents' data and the instruction, the prompt, all of those things remain private? And these are some of just interesting ideas that are yet to be solved and built. Similarly, shared agentic ownership is one other phenomena that is really coming up. So multiple people or groups of people can create agents which they collectively own, and the agent goes and produces something. So if it results in particular kind of return, then it's distributed among the people who have built the agent. So not a single person owning an agent, but multiple people owning a groups of agents. So kind of a shared agentic ownership ecosystems that can be created. So it's just a large opportunity that is out there, I think, in pretty much any industry that you want to look at. And the three untapped dimensions that are, so these are just some three ways in which you can actually look at things. And it doesn't require like a completely different way of approaching things, but it just requires a slightly different thought process. And so the first is emergence over monolith. And I think this is obvious for anyone who is building AI agents, but might not be obvious based on the media narrative and the hype around the thing. So a lot more agents are going to be collaborative and working in collaboration with other agents, which are built by other people. So that is the first trend I'd say is kind of going unnoticed. So a lot of collaborative AI agent building and development instead of just one large LLM, which orchestrates a lot of micro agents. So instead of that, I think it's just going to be a lot of different agents built by different people. And similarly, the next untapped dimension I'd say is local or domain specific agents, which leverage either domain specific information that only, let's say, you have access to. So if you build an agent around that, it will perform much better than an agent which has access to everything and it has the global or generic data. So that is one area where you can really leverage some of the existing expertise and access that you might have. And third is agent ecologies. And this is the untapped opportunity of building systems and building things which can allow agents to communicate with each other. Because as people realize that agents are going to need to work together with other agents, the obvious next step is to think about how do we actually enable it. So building this agent ecology is actually something that's very crucial to have the entire agentic space go to the next level, which will also build it in a way where it's very beneficial for the entire agentic ecosystem. So all the agents can actually communicate with each other. And as we build more platforms, interfaces, and protocols for these different agents to communicate with each other, it can open a vast or enormous potential of what can be achieved by individual AI agent applications. So if the next day someone wants to build an AI agent, it that person doesn't need to reinvent the wheel from scratch, but instead can use a group of AI agents to provide that functionality and to ship out the product at a much quicker pace. So I think that kind of collaboration is something that is naturally going to come. But I think if we can make that happen in a way where we think of how whatever agent we are building can interact with other agents, I think just that particular thought process is going to lead a long way. And it will also allow us to think of what are the uh, consequences of the agents that we are building. So if you look at agents, it's like a encapsulated intelligence that you have, which you deliver in a scalable way. So if it really scales, and if you haven't thought about something, then it can really have consequences that you were just unaware of. So using AI to also figure out how the entire agentic systems that you're building will work out, instead of, I'd say, a lot of approach that is around release first and then whatever happens, you look at it later. So I think that will be solved with this one. And we'll also have a lot of better products in the ecosystem for everyone to use. And I think one other future of AI agent is that a lot of people focus on jobs that are going to be replaced by AI, whereas we should be focusing on jobs that are going to be created to orchestrate and to conduct these kind of products that we're building in an effective way. So different kind of new jobs are going to emerge, let's say agentic orchestrator, or in a way which can work with agents in a very with a very unique expertise. So those kind of jobs, I think, are going to replace a lot of other jobs which are going to be performed by AI agents. And the more we can think of what kind of jobs we can create, it is going to help the entire ecosystem go in a much healthier way. So that's, I would say, like the three untapped areas that you can focus on whenever you want to think about AI agents. One is collaborative ecosystems, so emergence of a monolith, local and domain specific agents, and agent ecologies. And these are the different layers of innovation that you can also look at. So whether you want to get involved in the cloud infrastructure, which is looking at compute and specialized agentic databases, RAGs, and those kind of things, or you want to spend time in looking at interoperability protocols and identity of each agent. How do you verify that this agent is the authentic one? Uh, Tools and libraries that you can build, observing LLM flows, what steps are being called, how does it go from one step to the next step, what needs tweaking, and those kind of things. Conversational UIs and the other kind of UIs. Fourth layer is domain specific agents. So what specific expertise you can encapsulate in a particular agent that can be then used by anyone else who wants to incorporate or interact with that particular domain. So having a lot of domain specific agents, I think, is the obvious next step. And the final layer of innovation is a lot of, I'd say this would be a very interesting problem, which is orchestration aggregator solution, which is how do you orchestrate the entire agentic operations? And one, I'd say like a recent thing that came out is a way for agents to not just execute, but also conduct who does it want to delegate to. So this is a framework which I'd say like came a few days back, orchestra, and it's just built in a different way, where agents are also the conductors rather than just the executors, and then you have the main orchestrator agent who does all of that. So just something that you can explore on how different AI agentic frameworks are also approaching uh, managing and executing the entire agentic workflows. So I'd say those are the five layers of innovation. And whenever you build, uh, it's important to ask, what are you building, and really exploring that. And these days, you have a lot of AI tools where you can brainstorm what agents to build. And if this ecosystem works, then how would it work out? And also think about mechanism design in a way that how users can interact with the agents and how that will lead to the overall platform and ecosystem growth, or whether there's some logical flaw or some missing gaps in the mechanism that you create. So that is, I would say, the presentation on mechanism design uh, of AI agentic frameworks, and then looking at the different untapped opportunities around these areas, and looking at some of the things that you can build and some of the layers that you can interact with. So so if you have any questions, you can also put it in the chat and we can go over a couple of them. Yeah, so the recording will be made available after some time. And yeah, so I think, Rakesh, the question that you have asked about business scenarios to adopt agentic AI approach, I think it's a very business specific, or it's going to be very specific to that kind of business or the solution that you're offering to the customers and clients. And the process is to just look at the different parts of that particular thing that you're offering, and what all things can be really optimized by inclusion of AI agents, what can be handled by an AI agent in a better or efficient way, which can reduce time or cost or any of the factors that you're optimizing for. So it could be in pretty much any business domain, even for the same business that you're looking at, be it for social growth, be it for client interaction, be it for sales, be it for operational intelligence optimization, and those kind of things. So it's a very vast area that you can look at, and I think the approach should be to just take one small piece of business that you want to optimize using AI agents, and then try it for that. So experimenting with a small area, and then seeing how it delivers the results, and then increasing the tech stack slowly. Because if you go with a lot of complexity in the start itself, then it just becomes very difficult to tweak things later on. So just taking something very small and then uh, experimenting and iterating on that. So Sachin, so there are a lot of ways for agent learning, and long-term and short-term memory is definitely there. I'd say it all comes down to what kind of memory. So instead of using just the memory that is provided by the agentic frameworks, what kind of memory do you want to store for yourself? And how do you want the agent to navigate through that entire memory? So whether you store it as just like a RAG, or want to use graph RAG, where you have multiple pathways, and then you see what pathway is most optimized for your particular solution. So yeah, there are many different approaches. I think the most important thing in agentic learning is some kind of feedback loop. where you have, let's say, another LLM decide how good, or some kind of criteria checking that you can have for evaluating the performance. And if the performance is not good, you have like the arrow of the feedback loop going back to the agent with certain additional parameters that this is not met, and then that kind of improvement, and then filling that particular improvement in, or allocating or addressing that improvement to be incorporated in the memory so that it's also available for later use.
I
But
have
it's
follow up, Aditya. Sorry to interrupt. So, when you say there is a feedback loop, but the brain of the agent is LLM, and it is constrained by the context of the LLM. So, my question is there something similar to what we have in machine learning, where it like the data is embedded in the agent and it learns as it interacts with the system?
can you repeat the question again?
So the thing is that with the feedback, even with the feedback the agent is receiving, the brain of the agent is a LLM, right? So the thing is that suppose we have exhausted the context size of the LLM, then how the agent is going to learn further?
Yeah, yes. So if you look at the brain of the agent, so there are a couple of things that we should consider. So one is obviously the instruction, and the second is memory that it can use in real time. So one approach is to just incorporate that learning in the memory so that when it retrieves from memory, it has a better knowledge of how to interact with that scenario.
Okay. Again, like this is limited by the context size of the LLM, right? What is the like solve for that limitation?
So I think context size is a limitation in certain way, but it's not required for you to have, let's say, all the knowledge that you want to have for the agent in the context size. So I think it's the context size is not really a limitation in terms of how you whether you want your agent to learn iteratively or not. So here I'm talking about the memory that it uses to make decisions, and tweaking or modifying the memory in a way that can be best utilized by the agent, and also iteratively working on the prompts. So one is filling the part of memory in a way that is better optimized for the decisions that you want your agent to make in that particular step.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
One of the things that I also mentioned about is prompt battle. And this is a way to just sharpen your prompt engineering skills. It's a very basic two-level challenge where you have to figure out what is the requirement that is provided with the LLM in order to reveal a secret password. So the LLM has been told to guard a secret key, and it has been told to guard in a certain way. And your goal is to create prompt that can actually trick the LLM to reveal the secret. So there are two levels. One is the very basic one, level one, and the second requires some additional digging around. So it's a very basic attempt to try out your prompt engineering. And also in terms of the meetup, I think because we want to have longer term members who are actually involved in building AI agents, working with AI in different ways, and are actually hands-on in either building something for themselves, or they're working in teams of AI agent builders. So this is the Discord server that I've just created, and a lot of discussions is around AI agents. I think we can have over here, as well as brainstorming different ideas, bouncing off new ideas that are Uh, not really fully formed. I think that's a very interesting spot because a lot of times even I have gotten a lot of ideas which can be implemented or tried out in a day or two, but I needed someone to work with. So those kind of quick projects and things that we can work on in different groups. I think that is the whole idea of creating this meetup group so that you can find some collaborative partners uh, as well as uh, discuss some of the things that have been going on in your mind, and then look at how do we build better AI agents and the trends and the opportunities and things like that. So that is all for the first introductory meetup. And even after this meetup, let's discuss on Discord if you want to continue further. And we also plan to have a later meetup by, I'd say, like the end of this month or sometime next month, which could be a physical meetup. So this time we were not, I was not too certain on how many people would actually come. So we couldn't finalize a venue. But yeah, next time we can have in person, and then before that itself, we can discuss it on Discord on who all is going to come. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Thank you, everyone, for coming and attending the first meetup. I think AI agents have a lot of potential, and uh, great if we can actually work together in a collaborative way. We can discuss ideas and things like that, and that would just be beneficial for the whole ecosystem to both building individual products as well as taking the ecosystem forward. I think in because we are all based in Bangalore, we can meet up and uh, kind of create a uh, ground where new innovation can happen, which is very raw in its nature and very experimental, but it's also very powerful. So yeah, this is if you think you want to work and want to explore and just do those kind of things around AI agents and tinker around. So just uh, if you want to tinker around, yeah, just I would say that yeah, feel free to join the group and share ideas. I like it to think of as a very open and open space for innovative thinking. And even I would say like the commercial products, and if you're building something commercially, it's also okay to share those as long as you're focused on how you actually build it. So we want to look at how something works behind the scenes, and even some of the things that I'm building, I think maybe later on I can go into the deeper ways in which it works. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming, and I hope you a great rest of the evening. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Aditya, is there any similar WhatsApp group or any Telegram groups?
Yes, so I haven't created a similar WhatsApp or a Telegram group, but I think that's a good idea. So we can also have a WhatsApp group that
Yeah,
can be joined.
yeah. Please add because there is today is very important for the AI, right? So everyone has different challenges every day they are facing. So and
Yeah, so I've just created a group. Let me share the link here.
yeah, that's good idea.
Yes, so I've shared the sharing the link in the chat itself, and you can join the WhatsApp community there.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks everyone for attending. I think it's a great initiative, and we can definitely work together. And the space is moving really fast. It's mind-boggling in the way and the pace this whole space is moving. And
Aditya, can you share your LinkedIn profile link?
yeah, I'll share that. So yes, it's very. If you are working in this, I think you are already familiar with the speed at which everything is moving. And yeah, it's great to have a group like this. So yeah, so thanks everyone. So the meetup will be, I would say, like ended in like another 2 or 3 minutes. So if you want to drop off. Make sure you copy the links, and hope to see you in the next time. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Aditya. It was a lovely session.
Thanks. Thanks.